So we have big firmware updates, fresh glass, and a rare price drop at the top end of the cinema game. This week's updates are going to matter to you whether you shoot weddings or feature films. So let's jump in. Let's open things up talking about glass. We've got a circular fisheye for the Nikon Z mount, a 1 to 5x macro, a potential price bump in a staple zoom lens, and a new ultra wide for Sony shooters. According to Nikon rumors, Astori, I can never get that right, has announced a 6mm f2.8 full frame circular fisheye lens priced at $299. For macro specialists, according to Nikon rumors as well, ZY Optics has announced a new Nikon 55mm f2.8. That's a 1 to 5x macro lens, also for Nikon F and Z mounts. Now, Sony shooters are actually getting a fresh ultra wide, and according to Sony Addict, TT Artisans has just announced their 14mm f2.8 spherical. It's now available on Amazon. I've got a link down below. Now, this lens delivers a 114-degree ultra wide angle field of view with 13 elements in 10 groups, with a dual spherical element system, and it's built from aerospace grade 5052 aluminum. Now, it's manual focus. It has a 77mm filter thread holder, and it's compatible with Sony E-mount, full frame, and APS-C cameras. And for night shooters, TT Artisans is highlighting the fact that it has an 8-pointed starburst effect and that it benefits from that f2.8 aperture, again, also in low light. So if you could add just one of these to your bag right now, which one would you go with? Would you go with the fisheye, the 6mm ultra wide, or are you looking for more of the practical macro end of things? Let me know down below. One thing I do know for sure is that many of these new lenses that we're seeing out on the market are not coming for the RF mount, except in some cases these manual focus lenses. I'm actually currently reviewing the TT Artisans 35mm APS-C f1.4 for the RF mount. That review will be up on the channel soon, so get subscribed to see it when it drops. Nikon's making moves on firmware in a way that mixes both autofocus tools with content authenticity. So Nikon Z6 just got its first major firmware update, and it touches pretty much everything from bird AF to image provenance. It's where things come from. So Nikon has released firmware version 2.0 for the full frame Z6 adding new subject detection features, automatic capture, and C2PA functionality and compatibility. Now, the Z6 launched last summer, uses a partially stacked image sensor, and enables fast shooting, strong autofocus, video capabilities, and with firmware 2.0, it expands its autofocus and delivers content authenticity tools for photojournalists. So the Z6 is going to be the first Nikon camera to support the Nikon Authenticity Service, that is hard to say, which is a C2PA compatible solution that adds image provenance via a digital certificate that's loaded through Nikon's imaging cloud. It's an embedded digital signature in the metadata to indicate any kind of tampering and confirm capture time and camera identity. Now, this data can be viewed in Nikon Imaging Cloud, and Nikon has been working on C2PA for quite some time. Those Z9 owners are still waiting after Nikon promised this authenticity tech back in 2022. Now, on the autofocus side of things, Firmware 2 adds a dedicated bird subject detection mode that improves the tracking of birds in flight, even against complex backgrounds. There's now a focus limiter that can be assigned to a custom control to restrict focusing distance and improve AF reliability. Pre-release capture now allows JPEG fine quality and can record images up to 1 second before the shutter is fully pressed. Auto capture, which is borrowed from the Z9 and the Z8, comes to the Z6 with user set parameters for subject type, movement direction, distance, plus scheduling. It can work with the camera's data transfer features, including USB Ethernet adapters. Additionally, now users can actually combine pixel shift with auto exposure and focus bracketing, disable the eye sensor automatically when a vari-angle monitor is deployed, and exit the zoom view in manual focus with a half press. Also has access to recall settings functions, streaming via USB without additional software, and the ability to update via Nikon's imaging cloud. Now there's some additional details from Nikon's official changelog. The maximum shooting display zoom ratio is now 400% for both stills and video, and auto capture is now available both for photo and video, with capture criteria for motion, distance, and subject detection. It also now works in both FX and DX image areas. Additionally, high-speed frame capture plus mode was added, and the image quality can now be set separately. Additionally, options for the focus shift, pixel shift, and the combination of AE bracketing can now be set with the self-timer. They've also added a synchronized release option, which is now up to 20 groups with up to 16 cameras controlled from a master in each group, and support for the corporate NX field remote shooting system has been added. Additionally, ProPhoto's A10 continuous LED light can now actually act as an AF assist illuminator when you give it their firmware update. And lastly, right now, the Z6 III is $300 off. So if you are a Z6 III owner, does Bird AF and C2PA authenticity change how you would potentially use the camera, or maybe any of the other features and updates that have been added, like auto capture? Are you planning to use these in the field? If you are, let me know down in the comments. And if you've been someone who's been waiting to purchase maybe the Z6 III, does this push you in that direction? Another firmware update that we're seeing, Sony is rolling out a major update for its compact cinema duo. So the FX3 and the FX30 just picked up a number of tools that filmmakers have really been asking for, from onset control to Blackmagic RAW output support. Now this is coming with firmware version 7, which is for the FX3 and the FX30. Although for the FX30, it's actually labeled version 6. And you can get this from the Creators app, which is available on the App Store and Google Play. And a quick update note, if you're updating the FX3 from version 2.02 or earlier, you have to update to 2.04 or 05 before you can jump all the way to 7. Same thing goes for the FX30. If you're running 02 or 1.02 or earlier, you have to update to 1.05 before you can get to version 6. Now, both updates for both cameras include the home screen system that Sony calls Big 6. And I have a number of friends who are Sony shooters. They are very excited about this update. They have deployed it as quickly as they possibly can. They're in love with this change because it gives them the ability to quickly review shooting settings and equipment configurations for movie work. So now they have a fixed and variable mode. They've also got the focus magnifier and the auto magnifier in manual focus mode, and can now be used while bright monitoring is active. The anamorphic D-squeeze option now adds a 1.5 and 1.6 option, and with raw video output over HDMI, external recording of Blackmagic RAW is now possible. But workflow and networking are seeing gains as well. The camera can now automatically identify USB to LAN Ethernet adapters at power on, display remaining capacity of both storage devices using or during recording when using simultaneous or auto switch media. They can also now record the optical density of pre-registered ND filters in the metadata, and automatically upload videos to Creators Cloud based on OK, NG, and keep flags. Also on the networking side, changes to security have removed IPsec support as well as support for WPA and WEP, pushing pretty much everybody over to WPA2 and WPA3 for improved stability and security. Additionally, both of those cameras are also on sale. The FX3 and the FX30 are both $200 off, and I'll go ahead and put links down below to both of those. So if you're a Sony shooter, specifically on the cinema side, is the Big 6 screen and Blackmagic RAW support enough to push you to update on day one? Are you gonna wait for feedback from other users? Let me know down below. Next, I wanna talk about a thing that we don't normally hear a lot about, which is a price drop. Blackmagic has started slashing the URSA Cine pricing, and the reductions are big enough to potentially hit budgets. Now, Blackmagic Design has announced substantial price reductions across the entire URSA Cine camera kit line. Now, this is a rare move in a segment where prices have pretty much been rising. Now, the URSA line, which was introduced in 2024 and includes the 12K as well as their flagship 17K65, both built around large format sensors for professional film and television. After refining production costs, Blackmagic claims that those efficiencies are now being passed on to customers. And these drops aren't small. I wouldn't call these prices low, but these are still huge reductions across this line. So the 12K is actually dropping from $14,995, so $15,000, to $9,495, so $9,500. That's a 30% drop in price. The EVF bundle is dropping from $16,500 to $11,000. And the 17K65, which again is not cheap. This is a professional, this is a filmmaking camera. It's normally 30 grand. Well, now it's going to be 23. And the EVF kit, which is normally 31,500, is now going to be 24,500. So these savings are ranging between 20 and 35%. Now, these prices do not include duties or tariffs. And so those prices may be higher here in the US. But it's still a significant drop, and they'll actually bring those prices closer to what we would have seen previously when taking into account those additional costs. Now, each URSA kit comes with the camera body, an 8TB media module, the top handle, the base plate, the power supply, and the battery plate in a Pelican case, and with the optional add-on of the EVF available in those kits. And the 17K65 is built on a 65mm sensor that has received Netflix approval for original productions. And according to Blackmagic, the 12K excels in resolution, dynamic range, and rolling shutter performance. So if you are a high-end creator, and by high-end I mean you're not someone who's just doing work here on YouTube, and you were priced out of these large format cameras before, does the price cut now make this possible? Or were you planning on buying one anyway, and honestly now this kind of cuts out the tariff costs for you? Next, let's talk about whether or not Canon is going to sweeten the deal on entry-level prices for the holidays. This is something that we normally see, and I want to talk just a little bit more about that potential 50mm f1.4 variant that might be out there on the table. So Canon's lower end APS-C cameras are very popular globally. They traditionally hold the top spots, or at least many of the top 10 spots when we talk about global sales in cameras. But with rising full frame prices, inflation, tariffs, these are shaping a lot of the things going on. And yet Canon's cameras continue to be named by BCNR and Map Camera as best-selling. Now, Canon's PowerShot V1 for content creators features a 22 megapixel 1.4-inch sensor, built-in 3-stop ND filter, and it competes with cameras like Fuji's X100 and Sony's ZV-E10. Now, the GX7, the older iteration from Canon, dates back to 2019, but it still draws a considerable amount of interest and sales for what's still available. And the R50 is a regular top of Amazon's bestseller list for cameras. The R10 and the R100 are also very popular and continue to bounce in and out of top 10 lists. But buyers may want to wait for the holidays, as we may see some discounts, rebates, and savings based on Canon's seasonal history, as they've traditionally put cameras like the EOS R10 on sale near the end of the year. And they often bundle those cameras with lenses, printers, flashes, and bags at additional discounts. But to be quite honest, with the current, we'll call it fluidity, we keep hearing about price increases, we keep hearing about supply issues and shifting production around. These cameras have been very popular, but the prices keep going up. So I don't know if we're actually going to see any discounts for the holiday season, but it would be honestly nice to see. So that's the news for this week. If you want to support what I'm doing here, consider becoming a channel member. It's $1. And if you're looking to book a photo or video session, all the details are down below, including my free mini sessions and my gear and deal lists, including everything that I use to make my videos and that I use as a photographer out in the field. Now, those links do go to help the channel, but the easiest way to help and support the channel is just to hit the subscribe and like buttons. They're both free, and they really help me here on YouTube. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.